Welcome back, everyone. This week, The Pit returned with Season 2, Episode 13. And let me tell you, this was not your standard run-of-the-mill medical drama episode. Instead of relying on non-stop action, the show took a massive step back to shine a spotlight on the grueling, soul-crushing reality of working in the medical field. We got a raw look at the pure exhaustion these doctors and nurses face and the devastating mental trauma that comes with carrying the weight of human lives on your shoulders. But what really left us speechless was the final moments of the episode. We saw our biggest fears regarding Dr. Robbie coming to life. His haunting words about Orlando's tragic situation made us realize that Robbie isn't just treating a patient, he's looking at a mirror. So grab a seat because today we are breaking down the psychology of Dr. Robbie, uncovering the mystery behind Dr. Al-Hashimi's freezing spells, and exploring the dark truth about the medical system presented in this episode. Oh, and just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Let's dive right in. Let's start with the absolute core of this episode, Dr. Robbie's fragile state of mind. There was a specific exchange of dialogue that I believe is the most crucial thing spoken in the entire series so far. When told that the team would manage until he returned from his break, Robbie won't come back. Throughout this second season, the writers have been dropping breadcrumbs about Robbie's mental health. He has been operating like a man who has nothing left to lose, constantly staring death in the eyes. It has made us wonder, does Robbie even have a life or a purpose outside the walls of this hospital? The tragic irony here is that the emergency room, a place of absolute chaos, blood, and panic, is the only thing keeping him grounded. The thought of stepping away from this madness terrifies him because he fears that without the ER, he might not have a reason to exist. This brings us to Orlando's storyline. Orlando didn't just serve as a random patient of the week, he was a narrative mirror for Dr. Robbie. When Robbie was speaking to Mrs. Diaz, he practically admitted that Orlando's critical condition was a deliberate act, an attempt to end his own life due to suffocating debt. But if you listened closely to Robbie's tone, there was a haunting empathy there. He spoke about Orlando's desire to end things as if it was a feeling he understood intimately. You could clearly see the toll this mindset was taking on him throughout his shift. Robbie's patience was completely gone. He was lashing out at his colleagues left and right. He grew furious with Dr. Mohan and Dr. Shivati for their hesitation in treating Orlando. He noticed Dr. Al-Hashimi freezing under pressure while treating Grady, which only fueled his anger.
Even his dynamic with Dana was explosive, with both of them constantly throwing frustration at each other. To put it simply, Dr. Robbie is madly in love with the ER, but the ER is slowly killing him. Juke recently compared the hospital to quicksand, and Robbie is the man sinking the fastest. Dana pushed him to take a sabbatical, to just step away and breathe, but he is paralyzed by the fear of leaving. To make matters worse, Robbie just received the results of Juke's CT scan. Hearing that someone he deeply cares about is facing a 50% mortality rate is the exact kind of devastating news that could push Robbie completely over the edge. With only 2 episodes left, the pressure cooker is about to explode, and Robbie is right at the center of it. Now, I've seen some chatter online from fans calling this episode a little boring because it lacked explosive action, but I completely disagree. This episode was a masterclass in psychological storytelling, showing us exactly how different medical professionals cope or fail to cope with the horrors of their job. Let's talk about Dr. Ogulvie. From the beginning of the season, Ogulvie has strutted around with a massive ego. He truly believed he was untouchable, the smartest guy in the room, treating medicine like a competition where he constantly tried to outshine Dr. Whitaker. But this episode delivered the ultimate, heartbreaking reality check. For the first time, Ogulvie actually built a genuine connection with a patient, but due to a massive system failure, a crucial recurring condition was missed, and that patient died right on his operating table.
The image of Ogilvie sitting outside, covered in his patient's blood, fighting back tears, was incredibly powerful. The God complex was shattered. He was finally humbled, feeling the crushing, unbearable weight of a lost life. Dr. Whitaker sitting next to him and delivering that harsh truth, "People die and we do the best we can, but people die," was a perfectly executed scene. Doctors aren't miracle workers. This absolute heartbreak now has Ogilvie seriously questioning if he even belongs in the ER.
We saw a similar crisis of confidence with Dr. Mohan. She's been struggling to find her footing all season, and this shift was a nightmare for her. First, Orlando, a patient under her direct supervision, managed to discharge himself, leading to his critical, life-altering injuries. Mr. Diaz literally looked at her and blamed her for letting him leave. Add to that the guilt she felt over Ogilvie's patient dying, and you have a doctor who is drowning in self-doubt. She even destroyed her application for a competitive ultrasound fellowship. Knowing behind the scenes that the actress playing Dr. Mohan is not returning for season 3, the writing is clearly on the wall. She is preparing to walk away from the pit forever. Then we have Dr. Langdon. Earlier in the shift, he was the rock for Mel during her deposition and family issues, but when he returned to the floor, his rustiness almost cost a patient their life during an intubation. It was a terrifying wake-up call for him, proving how quickly a simple decision can turn fatal if you've been out of the game too long. When you combine your own self-doubt with the judgmental stares of colleagues like Al-Hashimi and Robbie, the mental pressure becomes paralyzing.
Really shined in this episode, practically transforming into a younger version of Dana. Her interaction with Digby, a homeless man who sacrificed his home to keep his daughter off the streets, was beautiful. Digby was terrified that if he got cleaned up, his daughter wouldn't recognize him. Emma's response, asking if he danced with her at her wedding, assuring him she would never forget him, was pure Dana-level empathy. It was a great reminder to never judge a book by its cover, as Digby has proven to be one of the kindest souls in the hospital. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum is Dr. Santos. Her absolute lack of basic human empathy is baffling. Referring to patients as big effing idiots out loud is not just unprofessional, it shows a dark disconnect from humanity. Even Dr. McKay was stunned by her behavior. If Santos keeps this up, she is going to isolate herself from everyone in that hospital. Let's shift gears to a mystery the show has been building since the very beginning. Why does Dr. Al-Hashimi keep freezing up? If you've been paying close attention, this isn't a new issue. We first saw her zone out while treating baby Jane Doe back in episode 2. Then, halfway through the season, we saw her making a secret phone call to a neurologist. And now, in this episode, she completely froze while trying to listen to a patient's heartbeat. The problem this time? Dr. Robbie saw it, and we know Robbie. When he finds a weakness, he doesn't let it go. He has already been looking for excuses to reject her medical practices, and this gives him the perfect ammunition. So what is actually happening to her? I have two strong theories. Theory number 1, severe PTSD. We know she spent time working in brutal conflict zones in the Middle East, specifically dealing with injured children. It's highly possible that treating certain cases, especially pediatric ones, triggers traumatic flashbacks that paralyze her in the moment. Theory number 2, a hidden medical condition. Given her secret calls to a neurologist, she might be suffering from a serious brain issue. Why hide it? Because admitting she has a neurological problem would instantly disqualify her from practicing emergency medicine. She is so deeply committed to saving others that she's willing to risk everything to stay on the floor. Interestingly, this makes her incredibly similar to Dr. Robbie. Both of them are damaged, both of them are hiding their true conditions, and neither of them is willing to step away from the job. With Robbie now aware of her lapses, a massive confrontation between the two is inevitable in the upcoming episodes. One of the most impactful parts of this episode wasn't about medicine, it was about money. The storyline with Orlando and the Diaz family was a brutal commentary on the American healthcare system. Before Orlando's tragic decision, his family was drowning in medical debt, begging for assistance and getting nowhere. But after his suicide attempt, his prognosis was incredibly grim. He either faces a year of grueling recovery or requires round-the-clock care for the rest of his natural life. And here is the sickening irony. Now that he is permanently disabled and fighting for his life, Medicare and Medicaid will suddenly step in to cover the costs. Why? Because he finally met the criteria of being sick enough. The show highlighted a very dark reality. The system will watch you drown in bills and ignore your cries for help until you're pushed to the absolute brink of ending your own life. Only when the damage is irreversible does the financial help arrive. It was a heartbreaking realization that Orlando's debt caused this tragedy, and the solution only came when it was far too late to give him his normal life back. Looking back at everything, I have to say, this was an incredibly necessary episode.
As we approach the end of the shift and the end of the season, we needed this deep dive into the characters' minds. Everyone is reaching their absolute boiling point. While Dr. Robbie's behavior is getting harder to watch, his character arc is easily the most compelling part of the show. The complexity of his depression and his refusal to get help feels incredibly authentic. It actually reminds me a lot of the emotional depth we saw in Ted Lasso's character during what was supposed to be his final season. You are watching a man break down, and you can't look away. I also have to praise the writing for Dana and Robbie's scenes. They are so raw with each other. They hide their deep mutual care behind sharp, biting comments, and it feels like a very real, lived-in relationship. Meanwhile, characters like Langdon and Santos took a back seat this week, which felt like the calm before the storm. Even though the power blackout is over, the tension hasn't dropped for a second. The constant cutting between the life-or-death struggles of Grady and Orlando kept me completely on the edge of my seat. And a huge shout-out to the writers for the Ogilvie storyline. If you'd told me at the start of the season that I would feel genuine sympathy for that arrogant doctor, I wouldn't have believed you, but they broke his character down perfectly. It is absolutely crazy to think we only have 2 episodes left in Season 2. Having started this journey back in January, it's rare to find a show these days that can sustain such high-quality storytelling over so many weeks. I genuinely don't want it to end. The final 2 episodes are guaranteed to be emotionally explosive, and I am both terrified and excited to see how Dr. Robbie's story concludes. So, there you have it, The Pit Season 2, Episode 13, Ending Explained. What did you guys think of the episode? Do you think Dr. Al-Hashimi is hiding a disease or trauma? And will Dr. Robbie actually make it out of this season intact? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our breakdown of the final 2 episodes. Until next time, take care.